12 o'clock on the dot. Thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to host you guys for Staying Strong and Positive for ourselves and our children, this awesome webinar series that Be Strong Families has been doing for pretty much the duration of the pandemic, which is pretty impressive. Hello, Anna from Wichita, Kansas. Yeah, if everybody could say hello and where you're from. Hi, Dana. Hi, Andrew. Andrew is our tech support. Yay, Andrew.
Hey, everyone.
He'll also be chiming in. Let's see, let me open this. Hi, LaJuan and Myra. Oakdale. We love to see where everybody's from, everybody joining from all over. Hi, Robin from DeKalb. Hi, Anna, Denise in Maryland. Welcome, welcome. Is it noon?
It is
Should I
noon.
start? All right.
Yep.
Welcome, everybody. Yes, and remember all panelists and attendees telling us where you're from, what your name is, so we can all have this great conversation together. My name is Jennifer Johnson. I am a pretty new addition to the Be Strong Families team, the Be Strong Families family. And I am executive assistant to Robin Harvey and Alexander James, and I do program support for the training and technical assistance team. And today I want to talk about plant-based and zero waste, options for a more sustainable you. Next slide. And before we get started, we want to go over our ways to engage. If you're not talking, please put your phone on mute. When you're ready to comment, you can raise your hand if you would like to. Andrew will unmute you, and then you'll have to unmute yourself. Also, please, like you're doing now, use the chat. We love to see those comments, questions, answers to questions. But again, if you would like to join in and speak, please do. And of course, please be patient with us. We're working with technology, and we all know how fun that can be at times. But, you know, Andrew's super awesome, so this is going to go very smoothly. Our agreements. Please speak from your own experience using I statements. The golden rule, treat other people the way you would like to be treated. Always be respectful. And give us your full presence. Please no multitasking. Sometimes that can be difficult with, you know, everything at our fingertips and so many things going on. This is our short half-hour check-in during this vitality campaign, and if you can, give us your full presence so you can get as much out of this as possible. Thank you all for agreeing. I agree too. So this week, as most of you probably know, maybe you've seen some other webinars this week is Environmental Vitality Week, and it's all about how your surroundings influence your well-being. And questions and the focuses in this domain are very widespread. It can be from your home, your neighborhood, what is kind of in your immediate surroundings, but also for some people, it could be the impact on your environment and your environmental vitality as a greater kind of idea, and how that affects your personal environmental vitality as well. And that's kind of where I wanted to go with this topic, how our everyday choices in our lives affect our greater environment, and how our greater environment then has an impact on our environmental vitality. And when I thought about this topic for a webinar, first I thought, well, this topic is something that's a little bit more related to physical vitality, because we are going to talk about our consumption, and one of the things that we consume all the time, every day, to stay alive, is food. And so this has a lot to do with diet, which has to do with our physical vitality, but also there is a component that we don't always see right away of what we consume having an impact on our greater environment. And I really wanted to talk about this because it's something I feel really strongly about. I'm really interested in, and I spent almost 2 years eating 100% plant-based, or at least I thought it was 100%. There's always things in there you don't know about. But it was something that was like my main focus and something that I did a lot of research on and spent a lot of time doing. And during that time, I learned about all kinds of nutritional facts and also all kinds of foods, all kinds of products that I didn't know existed. And so I really like sharing this with other people. Um, I at that time I didn't feel like I needed the animal protein, and my motivations were mostly animal welfare and kind of like nonviolence towards animals and the environment. But I learned about a lot of other benefits of a plant-based lifestyle as well. And I also will say that I am no longer as plant-based as I used to be. And that's another thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about too, is listening to our bodies, having grace with ourselves, and not being so like not connected, holding on so tightly to an idea, because we have to connect with ourselves and really feel, what do I need and what does my body need right now? Because when I was vegan or 100% plant-based, I felt great, everything was fine. But when I was pregnant with baby number 1, the only thing I could eat for 3 months was cottage cheese. And with baby number 2, I had to eat red meat. And that went against everything in my being, but I needed it. And now I have a much more holistic view of my diet, what I need, and how that affects all the domains of vitality for me, including my environmental vitality. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So the environment and our environment, or our environment and how it affects the environment. So we have a couple of questions here. How does our immediate environment impact the greater environment as a whole? And is this always easy to see? And how does the environment impact our personal environment and our environmental vitality? So those are kind of the same question, but reversed. And what I really want to illustrate here and talk about is the environment, as in, our earth and its environment, and then our immediate environment, like my house, my yard, the air I breathe, my space, and how it is really like a cycle. So what I do in my environment has an impact on the greater environment, and the greater environment also has an impact on my environment and environmental vitality. And for me, I don't find it easy to see all the time, because I know that my actions, like in my head, I know that my actions and how I recycle or the things I buy, that they do have a greater impact on the environment, but I can't see that right away. And I feel like sometimes when we cannot see those impacts, we don't always make that connection, or it's easier to say like, oh, I'm going to do the easy thing, even though I know that's not the most environmentally friendly thing. But in the end, it does affect us. So the choices I make about what I'm going to consume may affect the air quality of the air I breathe right outside of my window, even though it may be pretty far removed.
And Denise says, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Birds around my home, and I know they travel to other homes. Heather says the weather affects my mood. Rainy days make me want to stay home and watch a movie and relax. And Denise says, plus this year I am growing butterflies.
Ooh, very nice. Yes, totally. So all of those things do affect us. I would love to see those butterflies. That sounds really neat. Also, when I was thinking about this slide and what I wanted to say here, because it's sometimes hard to put into words, this kind of connection, I really wanted to find a quote that kind of embodied that. And I came across this Rumi quote, you are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in a drop. And for me, that really illustrates that we are a whole, and we are part of that whole, and kind of the effect that we have. And this image in the background of the slide, also, I thought the water ripples were a very good illustration of a very small action having greater consequences that kind of resonate from that small thing.
One thing for me, I grew up near Lake Superior, and I always love to think about the amount of rivers and streams that would be constantly flowing, night and day into Lake Superior. That kind of just reminds me of our immediate environment. I may be miles and miles away from Lake Superior, but I might be right next to a river that is constantly flowing and feeding into that great body of water.
Yeah, totally. That's a really good way to think about it. And it also really helps you connect with nature too.
Oh, absolutely.
Cool. We can go to the next slide.
Okay.
Okay, so now I wanted to talk a little bit about why plant-based. Why does that have an effect on our environment? So there are a lot of documentaries, or if you do research on different industries and their effect on the environment, but I don't want to focus on those. There's sometimes focusing on what's going on that's negative isn't really contributing to part of the solution, or what we can do little by little to change those things. But the reason I wanted to talk about plant-based is because many times, and not always, but many times a plant-based diet, or even a plant-based meal one time a week, will have a lesser impact on the environment. For example, if you're not consuming something from a factory farm that's polluting and causing deforestation, not only for raising animals, but also for growing grains for those animals, if we can go straight to getting what we need from those grains or vegetables or legumes or other sources themselves, then we're kind of cutting out a step. And so that's why plant-based. And then also, what do our bodies need? Because of course, if we're used to eating a certain way, we don't want to just cut something out. That wouldn't be kind to our bodies, but to start understanding and knowing what other options are there for us. Because when I started eating a little bit more plant-based, like I said before, I realized, whoa, there's all these other delicious, amazing things that I can eat instead of so much of something else that I might have been eating. And of course, it's gradual, but there are essential nutrients, and essential nutrients are ones that our body doesn't create by itself. So for example, for protein, there are 9 essential amino acids, and we need those to build the structures in our bodies, and we need to consume them. We need to eat them because our bodies don't make them. And this picture, as a side note, and we'll talk about this more on the next slide in a second, but this picture, this is quinoa. And quinoa is a grain that contains all 9 essential amino acids, which is not very common because usually the 9 essential amino acids come from an animal source. So meat is considered a complete protein and an easy way to get protein because it has all of those, but we can get them from other sources. And then before we talk about those other sources, I wanted to touch on our mind-body connection. How does our mind-body connection impact our physical and environmental vitality? And one time in a webinar a while ago, Kathy had us do an exercise where we stood with our feet planted on the ground, and we stood up and we raised our arms, and I think it was Spiritual Vitality Week, I'm not sure, but we were kind of feeling the connection. And for me, that also kind of grounds me and gets my mind aware of my body. And I feel like that awareness of what our body needs is essential in listening to ourselves and listening to what we need so that we can make the right choices for ourselves when it comes to what we consume, because nobody is going to be the same. There's not going to be like a prescription diet for everybody. And we all need different things on even any given day. And Anna says, I'm from Mexico and I would eat fruit from the trees and we would use a citrus fruit to cook with. The pig would eat all our leftovers. Yes, and that's a great example of kind of like a closed circuit and not having food waste as well. Having the pig eat the leftovers, using what's around you. I love that. And so from here, I wanted to ask, we can talk about these things. I have a list on the next slide. What are some alternatives to conventional or traditional foods and farming? And if you guys have any, and this is not a complete list, But if you guys have more, throw them in the chat, or if you want to talk about some. Next slide. And so these are complete proteins that are not meat. And like I said before, a complete protein means that it contains all of the essential amino acids. And of course, there are essential nutrients as well that are not necessarily for building protein. But just for simplicity's sake, we can talk about these ones, because really when it comes to eating more plant-based, that's one of the main topics, right? Like, how am I going to get my protein? And so, like I said, quinoa is one of them, tofu, tempeh, and edamame, which are all soy. And the list goes on here. These are a few things that have all of those essential amino acids and really add a lot for me. For example, the spirulina, if I add that to a smoothie, so spirulina is a blue-green algae, and it has lots of great stuff in it. And my kids love to see the smoothie turn green when I put it in there, and it's really fun for them. And I wanted to highlight the last one as well, rice and beans, or any combination of whole grains and legumes, because when I was first kind of starting out on this journey, I did not know that you didn't have to eat them at the same time to get that complete protein. So you could eat oatmeal in the morning and then like kidney bean soup for dinner, and you've had your complete protein, even though you didn't eat them at the same time, which I thought was really cool. And there's so many different combinations, like whole wheat pitas with hummus, or things you can add, like you can add hemp seeds to your salad, and hemp seeds are actually a nut and they have a really great taste. Or chia seeds, you can make a pudding with that, because when they get wet, they kind of create a layer of moisture around them and they create this pudding-like texture. And there's just so many different things. And also for allergies, for example, so for baking, if you are allergic to eggs, or if you want to cut eggs out of your diet for whatever reason, there are things like agua faba, and agua faba is the liquid around garbanzo beans, and you can kind of whip it up together, and it binds together in a certain way to be an egg replacement. And you're using something that you would probably just, dump down the sink or whatever. Also flax seeds ground up, that is an egg replacement as well. And flax has a lot of good nutrients in it too. And then there's things like ice cream. I make my kids ice cream straight from frozen bananas. And of course, it's not ice cream. It doesn't have cream in it, but it tastes really creamy. So you freeze the bananas and you use a blender after they're frozen to, blend them, and then put them back in the freezer. And then when you're ready to eat it, you blend it one more time, and it's like banana ice cream, and it has one ingredient with no added sugar, and it's completely plant-based.
That sounds amazing.
Also, avocado. This is a weird one that you're going to think it's gross, but it's delicious. Avocado, the same thing, frozen, made into ice cream. You add like pure cocoa and some sweetener of your choice, and it's like a chocolate mousse. And it's amazing. I've had it, and I've not tricked them. I did tell them what it is, but I've had friends over, and you're like, hey, guess what this is? You're never going to guess. And they taste it and they can't guess. And when you tell them avocado, they're like, no way. And that has some really good fats in it too. I don't do grains at all, but I definitely use hemp seeds, ground flax, and nutritional yeast often, and occasionally chia seeds. Ooh, yeah, avocado sweet. Yeah, thanks, Tamara. Those are all yummy things. Yeah, and with the kids, you do have to get really creative sometimes, right? And Heather says, I'm a pescatarian. When I stopped eating red meat, pork, and chicken, I just started feeling better. I had high blood pressure, and this change helped me, and I no longer have high blood pressure. Awesome. Very good. Condensed milk and avocado. Yummy. That does sound amazing.
And Denise says she's looking forward to trying some of this with the grandkids. I'm really interested in the avocado and the banana. I'm huge on strawberries too. Are there any like good strawberry go-tos?
Well, you could throw the strawberries in with the banana. One of our favorite smoothies is like kind of your classic smoothie with strawberry and banana, and then you can add like the milk of your choice or yogurt. And then I add either almond butter or peanut butter, and it sounds weird to combine them, but it's like an elevated peanut butter sandwich. Yeah, I really like that. And then we'll add like the spirulina and the hemp seeds or whatever seeds we have on hand. But also I will say, like, you have to listen to your body, because seeds aren't for everybody either. Sometimes seeds make your gut feel icky. So you do have to kind of like try these things one at a time if they're new to you, and make sure that it sits well with you, or if maybe you need to get used to it. Heather says, I love almond butter. Yeah, I love almond butter too. And there's all kinds of butters. There's sunflower butter. I know with going to preschool, my daughter is 4, going on 5 here. And when we bring snacks to school, we're not allowed to use any nut butters, no almonds, no cashews, no peanuts, but sunflower butter is like the thing to go to now for schools, because there's less allergy. And it's really yummy as well. Yeah. And so again, this is like our physical vitality a little bit, but I do want to emphasize that even just making a small change or starting to learn more about different options can have that little impact, because we are billions of people eating every day. And so what we do collectively does have an impact on our environment, and it can have a positive impact too. It's like when we backyard garden, maybe we grow some cooking herbs or a couple of things, and that, you know, can improve so many parts of your vitality. If you like gardening, it can, you know, it adds to, well, for me, it helps me feel more alive. And then that's what we consume, and it's contributing to greater environmental health in general, which, you know, eventually will help us breathe cleaner air, drink cleaner water, and just feel more environmentally alive, that vitality aspect. Yeah, my go-to sweet treat, says Tamara, is whipped cream with a little stevia and sliced strawberries. That sounds very, very good. Yeah, and stevia is a natural sweetener, right? It's a leaf that's sweet, and you can find it in different things these days, drinks, all kinds of things. And there's a lot of different types of sweetener. There's monk fruit is one that I've recently learned about, that has that sweet taste. And there's different kinds of sugars too. Coconut sugar. There's one I used to use all the time. It's a brown sugar, panela. I think that's from South America. It's really yummy. All right. And I learned to be careful eating chia seeds. Make sure they are well hydrated before consuming them. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Sylvia. Yeah. And I will say that eating a plant-based diet does require planning, because there are certain things that have to be processed, like you say, the chia seeds, lots of beans or lentils, you want to soak them for a while, or soak them with something like a certain type of seaweed leaf for better digestion. Quinoa, you need to wash it a few times, because it has, I don't remember exactly, but it has like saponin, something that's in soap around it, and it's not good for your digestion. So you have to wash it and soak it and wash it and make sure all those little bubbles go away before you cook it and eat it. All right, let's go to the next slide. So along with this, I wanted to talk about zero waste or reduce waste, because zero waste, that's like kind of an extreme there. But there are lots of things in our daily lives that we use one time and throw away. And some things are like completely necessary, and some things are just habit, or some things we just don't even realize there's an alternative. And personally, in my house, we don't have paper towels or plastic wrap. And when the baby was born, he's going to be 1 next year, but we did have we bought paper towels one time because we knew there were going to be messes, but we didn't have to. And I find that when we don't have paper towels around, we use our rags, we do our laundry every few days, and we wash them and we use them, and we never hardly ever, I would say, are we like, man, I really wish I had paper towels. And that's been really good. And same with the plastic wrap. So one thing that we do, for example, if we eat a melon and we cut it in half and we eat the half and we need to save half, we just turn it upside down on a plate and stick it in the refrigerator. And half of that is me being like a lazy mom. And the other half is like, I don't want to use plastic. And we have like some glass Tupperware and have things, but there's some things you really don't need to wrap it all up in. Dana says we switched over to all metal/silicone straws. Yes. And I have those as well. I had the metal ones first, and then I tried those ones with the silicone on the end, and they're amazing. And they're so much like just the feel of them, drinking from that straw versus a different straw. And like lots of things, you don't even need a straw, but my daughter loves to drink everything with a straw. So we love those straws as well. And it's been hard during coronavirus, right? Like with not being able to use reusable bags at the grocery store. And for a little while when I was like very focused on zero waste, I would like bring my containers and have them filled up with bulk stuff, and we couldn't do that. I like silicone better than the glass straws that we have. Something about it being able to squish a little. Yes, totally. I love that. And they're colorful. Well, mine are colorful. I like that too. But there are a lot of things. So do you guys have any other kind of zero waste hacks? We use, reuse, and repurpose before we recycle, just as my grandma did. It saves so much money on the things we don't need. Yes. And thank you, Sylvia. And then Heather says, I use glass water bottles for my water. Yeah. And like what Sylvia says, this saves a lot of money. So this goes into our financial vitality as well, and kind of using less things and using the things over and over again. It just is good in so many ways. Dana says, I switched to Norwex and stopped using paper products and no cleaners. I don't know what Norwex is. I'm going to have to look that up. What is Norwex, Dana? And Layla says mesh bags for produce at the grocery store. Yes, totally. Reusable bags. Mesh bags are great. And then sometimes, depending on what it is at the grocery store in the produce section, no bags. And like my mom is like, what are you doing? But, you know, I'll grab a handful of apples or, you know, something that's not going to drip wet everywhere. Like if it's a thing of cilantro, I'll get a little bag. But if it's like potatoes or whatever, I'm just gonna, you know, put them in there, and the people at the checkout don't complain. They weigh them, not in a bag, nor wet. Thank you, Andrew. And microfiber cleaning using physical cleaning instead of chemical cleaning. Awesome. Thanks, Dana. Yes, all these like cleaning products, there's a lot of great options. And like, oh, another one that I was going to say, so sometimes we make our own yogurt, but when we don't have time to do that and we buy yogurt, we always reuse the little yogurt cups for like paint for my kids or planting seedlings in. And stuff like that. Denise says, I use the same cup every day, a 32-ounce hot cold cup. Awesome. Yes. And it keeps things simple, doesn't it? And Sylvia, I take my basket to the farmer's market to shop. Awesome. Very good. Did I miss anybody there? I don't think so. Heather says, natural groceries does not have bags, so we use recycled boxes. Yes, I love boxes for groceries. I find them easier to pack things into and carry, and they're so plentiful these days, boxes. So that is great. Dana says, I use all the baby formula cans, decorated them, and used for storage. Oh, awesome. Very good. Right. Stop buying bottled water and have a dispenser. Awesome, Tiffany. Hi, Tiffany. Caricia? I try to carry my own bags that are woven. Nice. Yeah, and this last question to wrap up, you guys are already answering. Is there something you already do or are inspired to do to keep our greater environment and therefore our immediate environment healthy and full of vitality? So yeah, you guys have already had such great ideas, and this is something that I love constantly learning about. And like I said, like trying my hardest, but also not beating myself up about not being perfect in this area, because sometimes our environment like our community, our neighborhood, our home is not quite set up for it yet. And one thing that I am trying really hard to do now, okay, that's not totally true. I am thinking about doing, and that very soon when I move, I am going to build a compost box so that I can put all my food waste in a place where I know it's going to get composted, and then I can use it in my garden. And then I can contribute to less gases in the air from putting that food waste straight into the garbage. So that is something that is like high on my priority list. And let's see here. Dana says, I use the water beads that my daughter loves to play with in my planters when she's done with them. They hold water in my planters. That is cool. And after everything Andrew says, well, do you want to talk, Andrew?
I'm really enjoying all these comments about cleaning. I'm going to have to kind of look into this because we have paper towels and I've been wanting to move away from them for a while. I try and use them as little as possible, but it's still like, maybe having an emergency one downstairs, right. But, in the kitchen, in the bathroom, stuff like that, just opting for an like hand towel or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you can have like different colors in different areas. Ours are just like old white rags from whatever source, and we just use them for everything. But I think there's a better way to do it. And I think it's really beneficial for your physical health for the cleaning as well. Yes. Let's see. Tiffany says, I'm so nervous about plant-based eating because I don't like anything crazy, which is out of my norm, but found me a plant-based restaurant near my home that has an amazing burger. Awesome. Yeah, it's just like trying little things and not being like, ew, I'm going to try this gross thing and I'm going to try it, but I don't know. Like, if you don't like it, don't go for it yet. Maybe you're not ready yet, but like, maybe someday you will be, and maybe you never will be, but there's just little options that you can try or just learn about. What else do we have here in the comments, Andrew?
Let's see.
Sorry, I'm losing it.
Tammy says, Dana, the microfiber cleaning cloths reminded me that I do still use my purple rags from Fly Lady. Oh, Fly Lady making a return. I think we were talking about that yesterday, that I bought probably a decade ago.
Nice.
And we are at 12:31. So.
Oh, okay. So please follow us. You can check out our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. On YouTube, all of these webinars are posted. I like to go back and see the ones I missed. And on tomorrow, we have our Taste of Vitality Cafe, focused on environmental vitality. And then next week, we have a really good lineup to talk about mental and emotional vitality. Very excited for that. So you can go to our website or check your email and sign up for those. Should I highlight these people? We've got Kathy, Ruben Mabubi, Robin Harvey, and Yoli Maya Yay. And and our Taste of Vitality Cafe as usual on Friday. So we look forward to seeing you all there. And we've got some great products so you can keep focused on your vitality and help those around you with their vitality. I love those posters.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have an awesome day.